an impact maker that you are. And I am so gracious, thankful, and excited that you brought Greg to this meeting. Greg Reid, I can't wait to meet you, man. I can't wait to hear from you. You have an incredible profile and resume of the impact you've made on so many people's lives. I'm going to kick it right over to Kevin Gilbert, and we'll get this show on the road. Kevin, call's all yours.
Thanks, George. Hey, guys, thank you so much to everyone that's joined this morning. It is my absolute honor and pleasure to introduce Greg Reid. He is a published author. He is best known for being the founder of The Secret Knock. He's the producer of an Oscar-qualified film. He's mentored youth in his hometown of San Diego. Some of the books that he's had published, he's had over 100 books, 32 bestsellers, 45 different languages. He's had Stickability, The Power of Perseverance, The Millionaire Mentor, and the one that I got introduced to him on, which is just incredible, 3 Feet from Gold, Turning Your Obstacles into Opportunities. He's inspired countless people, and he's been recognized by people all over the world, including President Bill Clinton. So Greg Reid, welcome this morning. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'd love to hear about how you have overcome obstacles in your life, sir.
Well, good morning, everybody. As you just saying, my name is Greg. I'm here in my beautiful house in San Diego, California. 6:30 a.m., so it's a little bit earlier than the normal bird catching the worm. So I've been published now in about 110 books, 45 different languages around the world. And the biggest message that I've been able to teach people is that I'm the least qualified dude to do what I do. So that's, get over the first little hump and obstacle. I can't really read very well, can't spell. I'm dyslexic. If you play me Words with Friends, you'll win every single time. Yet they gave me a star on the Walk of Fame for being an author. How? Well, you work your strengths and you hire your weaknesses. And I realized through every adversity, there's an equal and even greater opportunity, just like Napoleon Hill would ever, talk about. It's funny. The first book I ever did was called The Millionaire Mentor. And when I did this, when you write a book, you do something called the query letter. It says who you are, what's your message, why are you an expert, who's going to read your book, right? I sent 8 of these query letters out every single week. And then the next week I get 8 rejections. I was turned down by 268 publishers in a row for my first book. The 269th one said, we'll do your title, just change the title, the beginning, the middle, and the end part, because I couldn't write. So I hired a ghostwriter, and she took my words and crafted them in a way people would want to read it. Went on to become a global phenomenon that just kept going and going. And here we are 110 books later. And I realized we can have anything we want in our life as long as we stop looking at something as, an obstacle, but it could be a blessing and opportunity in disguise. So for those of you who don't know my work, has anyone here ever heard of a book called Think and Grow Rich? Anyone, like a million years ago, right? Type of thing. All right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So 100 years ago, Napoleon Hill, he was a young guy. He was 23 years old, and he gained access to the richest dude of the world. His name was Andrew Carnegie. And it was supposed to be a 30-minute interview, turned out to be 3 full days and nights. And at the end of the interview, Carnegie says, I like you, and here's an opportunity. He said, work for me for free for 20 years, and I'll send you on a mission to meet my friends. You'll sit down with them and, find out exactly what they did and write the first ever formula for success. Well, Napoleon Hill reached in his pocket and he only had 2 nickels to rub together. And he thought, work for free for what? And he turned to Carnegie and says, not only will I accept that mission, you can rest assured I'll complete the task. Carnegie says, fine, you got yourself a job. But then Hill says, why are they going to talk to me? I'm just a kid. I'm nobody. I'm not connected. He says, don't worry about it. He says, I'll write you a letter of recommendation. When people see it, they'll know you sent it and it'll give you all the time you want. He sat down with Edison, Einstein, Fords, Rockefellers, wrote the 20th best-selling book in history. But here's what you don't know. You see, Carnegie was a stickler for action, and he gave his guests just 60 seconds to make up his mind to work for free for 20 years. And when Napoleon Hill said yes, Carnegie pulled out a stopwatch. He began giving him 60 seconds. There was 31 seconds left on the clock. He made his life-changing decision in 29 seconds. But here's where it gets really cool. Carnegie made that same offer, that same opportunity to over 250 men before Napoleon Hill. Think about that. 250 people before Napoleon Hill. He was the only person to say yes. He was the only crazy person enough to accept that challenge. And for myself, I realized that most successful people understand the difference between success and failure comes down to getting over a bad case of the one size. That means I'll take action once I get the kids out of the house, once I get the big break, and the most successful people take action the moment that the opportunity is unveiled and given to them. Well, that was 100 years ago in 1908. Fast forward 100 years at 2008. The surviving family, the grandkids in Napoleon Hill, and the foundation that bears his name gave me that same letter that Carnegie gave to him. They just rewrote it in their own words. And basically gave me a Willy Wonka ticket to travel the world to meet the most amazing people. What a gig, right? The first book we did, as he was just mentioning, 3 Feet from Gold. Now, by the way, when I did the deal with the Napoleon Hill Foundation to carry on the teachings, remember how Napoleon Hill was never given a penny to write Think and Grow Rich? They thought it'd be very appropriate to pay me the same wage. I had nothing. So I went all in. For 3 years, I gave up everything and I traveled the planet to meet these people. And, you know, out of all the different interviews I did, I mean, I sat down with the guy who started NASCAR to Mrs. Fields Cookies, from Miss America to the guy building the elevator to space. In your head, who would have gone with me to meet all these amazing people, right? Well, I invited 350 people to come with me and not one ever showed up. Again, not one showed up. Everyone had a bad case of the one size. Everyone let their big butt stop them. And then, not the one you're sitting on. They sit there and say, I'd go do that too. And it's always that but. It's a one size. It's those stumbling blocks that keep us in our way. Well, I got to sit down with these amazing human beings. I mean, just, it was insanity. But what, you know, my favorite parts and takeaways, one guy is the person who invented superstring theory, John Schwartz. If you ever watch The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon was trying to figure it out. Well, the guy who did, he said the greatest thing. He said, successful people seek counsel where failures listen to opinion. And I said, well, what's the difference? He goes, opinions based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, inexperience, like maybe a family friend who's never done what you're about to venture upon. Counsels based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship, people who paved the way. If I go to a family friend and say, I'm going to become a best-selling author, they're going to try to protect me to keep me safe because I got a D in English and I can't spell. And I get that, but they're giving me their opinion and they've never written a best-selling book. If I go to Jack Canfield or Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, they're going to say, hey, before you get started, here's what you need to know, and give me counsel based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. John Schwartz said, if we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinions, that's the day your life would change. So the big question is, you know, where are we getting our information from? And unfortunately, most of us are afraid to put people on the spot and ask them. We'll see all these Instagram guru guys leaning against the Lamborghini talking about how to get rich, but no one goes, okay, great. Show me your bank statement. Show me your proof of concept. You know, they just take it for face value. And again, successful people push the barriers where they say, how can I understand that you are giving me counsel and not just your opinion? It's funny. A few years ago, I went to Spain. And I went to run with the bulls, but you actually run from the bulls, right? And I went to Pamplona, and people go, well, what'd you do? I mean, how did you do it? And did you enjoy yourself? I go, yeah, I sought counsel. I found the person who wrote the definitive book on running with the bulls. And I said, hey, dude, I don't want to get killed, but I want to have a good time. What do I do? And he goes, that's easy. When you go around this one bend and number 4, stand right in between. The bulls will come one side. People trample themselves over here. You'll have a good experience, and you can even take pictures. I go, what? And guess what happens? Rockets go off. I go stand there and have a great, great time. And I realized everything's that way. When I went to Africa and I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, I did not ask a dope smoking surfer here in Carlsbad to take me to the roof of Africa, right? I found the Sherpa that had climbed it 900 times. Wherever they put their boot print, I put my boot print. I followed successful actions of others. When I wanted to be a best-selling author, I didn't go to Barnes & Noble to the best written books, all the award-winning books. I went to the bestseller section and said, hey, what's the system? How does this work? I duplicated for myself, and here we are today. Back to the original question, where could we be by surrounding ourselves with people that are getting the results we want? Now, 3 Feet from Gold, you guys know the story. I know you do, but I'm going to tell you in short version. A guy named R.U. Darby knows nothing about gold. Again, he has no idea, but he goes out west and starts digging. He found a nugget, and hid it and went home and told his family and friends because they knew they were on to something good. They chipped in money to buy equipment so they could pull it out by the ore cart. And when it came out of the ground, they were excited because it was filled with gold. But then the gold ran out. They kept digging, but there's no more gold. Defeated, walks out of the mine, says, I quit, and sees a junk man walking by. He says, hey, buddy, give me a couple $100. He'll say, the mine, the equipment, I'm out of this business. I'm going back home to Maryland. And the junk man surveying the equipment was worth thousands, said, sure, here's a couple $100. You got yourself a deal. He made a lot of money. Well, Darby goes home defeated, but the junk man goes to an engineer and seeks counsel. He says, what happened? This cat hit gold and ran out. Engineer starts laughing. He goes, that's mining 101. Everyone knows that gold runs in a straight line. It's called the gold vein. What Darby did is he came on one side, hit the gold, and popped back into dirt. He says, go back to where they discovered treasure, go 90 degrees, just 3 feet, he'll tap back into the vein. Not only did the junk man pull millions upon millions of dollars out, but that's what still fills Fort Knox today. And the moral is, how many times have we or someone we know quit one class short from a degree or sales or more? It's easy to quit. It's easy not to make that extra bonus call when you had a good sales day. But it's the people that persevere and go that extra thing. They're the ones that we tell the stories about. After this had its phenomenon, I did a follow-up. It's called Stickability, the power of persevere. And the first person I saw was the guy who invented this. You guys ever seen a cell phone before? Anybody? And I remember I was sitting in his office, the dude who invented the cell phone, right? I go, what does stickability mean to you? And he said, stickability has to be parallel with flexibility. This is the message of today. If you got to be willing to adapt and adjust or you'll get stuck. And he told this story about a spider monkey. He said, you can't catch it, harpoon it. No, it's too wiry. It's too smart. He goes, one hunter figured it out. He took a heavy log, drilled a tiny hole, dropped a peanut inside, left it at the base of the jungle. The monkey would smell the nut, come down from the treetop, reach his hand in, grab a hold of the nut, and his fist becomes so big he can't pull it back out, become anchored to the log. Now all he's got to do is let go, but he thinks that nut is nutrition, so he holds on with it with dear life. Hunter comes by an hour later, captures the elusive spider monkey. The question is, are you holding on to your own nut right now? But it could be in that form of that deal or a car or a house or fear or guilt or remorse. Whatever we're holding on to, we think is saving us, just like the monkey was holding on to the nut, could also be the thing that's leading to our own demise right now. Sometimes we have to have the courage and the fortitude to simply let go, to adapt and adjust so we can live to fight another day. And from there, I'm telling you, I got to sit down with some amazing people, but this is my favorite topic. So this is the latest book out. It's called Success and Something Greater. Napoleon Hill, when he died, this was the last book he was supposed to do, but he never got a chance to. So he gave it to Sharon Lecter and I, and we came out with this thing last year. It's at all the airports in the nation right now, all the bookstores and stuff. But what's cool about this is one interview. I mean, we talked to people that started Barefoot Wines to Pictionary to Ugg boots and all that stuff in between. But one guy named Fred blew my mind. And this is kind of cool. I think as entrepreneur type mindset, we can see this. And I was sitting on a sofa and I said, tell me your story, Fred. And he goes, oh, that's easy. He goes, my greatest accomplishment is I invented the jet ski, the 2-person sit down jet ski. He goes, I sold the rights, the patent for 75 grand to change my life. And I went, holy smokes, that's pretty amazing. And all of a sudden he started talking. I go, wait, Fred. I go, you do know that's $1 billion brand now, right? Jet ski, Ski-Doo. He goes, yeah, absolutely. He goes, I'm very proud of it. Started talking about something else. I go, Fred, let's unpack that for a second. I go, you sold $1 billion brand for 75 grand and you're freaking happy about it? He says, Greg, at that time in my career, that 75 grand was $1 million. He goes, I was about to lose the family home. It was the first time I got my mortgage caught up in years. He goes, I got my employees caught up too, and I could let them go safely and give me the freedom to have free of thought. He goes, I slept all the night through. He goes, I don't even remember as an adult the last time I slept the entire night. He goes, it gave me peace of mind. He goes, I was going through the attic and I found these little die-cast metal cars. He goes, I played with it as a kid, and a buddy of mine was a NASCAR driver, so I put his number on it and I gifted it to him. Well, the other drivers got angry. They wanted with their own one, so I made them for them too. So much so that NASCAR came and just bought the rights from me for $151 million. He goes, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you have to do a deal in order to get you through to do another deal. What an interesting mindset, right? So many times we're always swinging for the fences and going for that grand slam, not realizing hitting some of those singles and doubles along the way can get us to where we want to go. We're always looking for that big hit. But yet again, the bad case of the one size or stickability, we quit before the miracle happens, or we don't ride the wave of success. What that means is how many times have we had a kick-ass day and we just crushed it, and then we'll do is call it early because we had a good day, rather than ride that momentum and keep making those sales calls, keep knocking on doors, keep picking up the phone and doing what we need to do. And that's the small little incremental things that change the way we look at it. And talk about the way we look at it. Bob Proctor and I wrote this book called Thoughts Are Things. Now, trust me, this one, you won't even believe the people we interviewed on that one. I won't even go into it. But what's interesting is we thought that your thoughts become your realities. You've heard that stuff your whole life. And I did too. But it changed my mind as soon as we did this book. You see, we sat down with these neuroscientists and these Harvard professors, and they said thoughts 100% are not things. I go, well, what? I go, that goes against my whole book title. I go, what are you talking about? And he said, only thoughts backed by massive action become things. I go, what do you mean? He says, well, it's been scientifically proven we have 64,000 thoughts a day. That's a lot of thoughts, right? From the time you wake up to type 64,000 thoughts. He said, majority of those thoughts are called ANTs. It's an acronym that stands for automatic negative thoughts. They're the reptilian part of your brain to protect you, to keep you safe. So if you walk out of a cave, a dinosaur wouldn't eat you. Well, if we had 64,000 thoughts a day and almost all of them are negative, then everything should be pure chaos and drama in our world, but it's not, because it's only the actions that we took create our reality. If thoughts were things, I'd probably be a bagel right now because it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I want some breakfast, right? But when we're done with this call, when I go to Einstein Bagels and get my bagel, well, my thoughts become reality by the actions in which we take. And the real fact of the matter is, to sit there and say, I want something and not have it only proves that we don't want it bad enough, because our actions did not back our desires of what we want. How many times have we had $1 million idea in the shower, and by the time we brush our teeth, it's down the drain, right? And 10 years later, you drive down the road and you see it up on a billboard. The only difference is that certain people took action towards that dream to make it a reality. And out of all the different people that I've had a chance to sit down, it's so funny. Someone just texted me right now, Ron Klein. He's the guy who invented the multiple listing service for real estate agents. And he created the, this, as a matter of fact, this right here, the credit card magnetic strip. Texting me right now as we're talking. And it was interesting. I asked him a question. I go, how did you come up with this magnetic strip little idea? And I go, that's what, $1 trillion concept there. And he goes, oh, that's easy. He goes, back in the day, people looked at things and overcomplicated it, kind of like what we do in today's world. He goes, I go for what's the most simplistic answer, and then I design that system. And so we'll explain the credit card. He says, well, back, at Macy's, if you wanted to go to the store and bring home some dishes, they gave you this little card that had raised plastic numbers and your name on there, but there was no smarts to it. What they do is they go to the store and they'd look at a list of paper, kind of like an accordion. And if your number wasn't on there, it means you had good credit. That's how the person at the checkout would know if you had good credit or not. And they put it into a little machine, and a little copier go ka-chink, ka-chink. Remember those days? And then they give you your product, good, and service and send you a bill. He said he thought there's a way to put smarts in it. And there was the reel-to-reel tapes back, the 78 tapes. And he goes, what if we took a little strip of that, put it on the back of the card, we'll put a start and a stop, and then the number is. He goes, then we'll make the human beings the actual computer. We'll make them the electrical device. We'll make them the machine. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you ever notice when you put it in, you got to get that right speed? He goes, all you're doing is you're becoming the machine that's trying to get at that exact speed of 78 before it'll actually trigger. What? Right? And he goes, first there's an idea, first there's a dream, then there's a challenge, and then it comes victory. Unfortunately, most people quit in the challenging times. How wild is that, right? How many times have we come up with an obstacle and we let it stop us rather than go forward? Back to this little magical device here. This is an iPhone. And I got to sit down with Wozniak, the guy actually created Apple computers with Jobs. I said, how did you and Jobs have so much success in your life? And he said, well, all we did is we embraced our lack. So what do you mean? He goes, well, most people run from their adversities, what they don't have. And we ran toward it. I go, give me an example. I'm trying to pull something up here. He said when these little microchip processor chips came out, they were so expensive. He goes, Jobs and I could only afford one of these things. He goes, he sold his Volkswagen. I sold my calculator. We pooled our money to buy one of these little things. He goes, Hewlett Packard would make machines that go from A to B with 20 chips. They had all the money of God. He said, I'd pull away 5 and get it to go from A to B with 15. I'd pull away 5, get it to work with 10. Eventually, I went from A to B using our one chip. He goes, we were not trying to be innovative. We were not trying to be cool. We were not trying to be, aerodynamic. We can afford one freaking chip. He goes, but by embracing that as an opportunity, I found the shortest, cleanest path. And by doing that, I changed the way people do personal computing for the rest of the world, for the rest of their life. He goes, where could you be in your own business, your own career right now? If you stop looking at something as your greatest challenge and obstacle, again, it could just be your greatest blessing and opportunity in disguise. And before we open up for questions and things of this nature, look, I don't know everyone on this call, obviously, but I do know this about you. Chances are everyone comes to you for counsel, for their great advice. Know why? Because you're a leader. That's why you're on this call right now. You're the person that everyone comes to for all their, insights and wisdoms. But you're just like that shiny duck on top of the water. You're gorgeous. Underneath, you're freaking out like the rest of us, right? And we've been taking care of our family and our friends and our peers and our coworkers. But it's time to literally draw a line in the sand and say enough's enough, especially for 2021. We have to sit there and go, I love you, family. I love you, friends. I've taught you all I know. It's your turn. My time is now. We draw a line in the sand and you step across and go, it's my turn. I've been sitting with all these ideas and entrepreneurial spirit and concepts for a book or a movie. I'm not going to take it to my grave. We draw a line in the sand and we step across and say, it is my turn. Just like Napoleon Hill said, our greatest success will always come just one step beyond our greatest setback. Nothing comes easy, but you got to draw a line in the sand and start taking care of us. Just like Les Brown says, you got to fill our own cup first so we can feed the world with what flows over. But you draw a line in the sand and say, it is my turn. And when you want to say die and throw in the towel, that's when you kick it in the most. Understand, you've got greatness inside of you. You've got so much amazing things the world's waiting to see, but we're afraid to bring it out and show it in the sunlight. You draw a line in the sand and say, it is my turn. And when you want to say, I can't go another step further, understand this, you do have greatness inside. Never quit, never surrender, because you too could be 3 feet from goal.
Wow, Greg, thank you so much. So if you have a few minutes still, I will happily open it up to some questions. George, this is your call. If you have a question out there, sir, feel free to open up first and unmute yourself. And then for everyone else, if you want to just mention yourself in the chat if you have a question, and we'll try and get to a few of the questions.
Right there. I hear my wife told me the same thing last night. I have no idea in context of what that was, but you go. All right. Hi, Julie. I see you in your car.
Does anyone want to unmute and ask Greg a question? Come on, guys, don't be shy. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity. You got
Hey,
30.
Greg.
Hola.
Hey, Greg. It's Tammy. How are you?
Hi, Tammy.
Hey, listen, I've got like too many buckets over here. I have to do that now thing. I've got all these inventions I want to do, and you've made me build a vision board. So the time is now for everything. Just dive in and now. But I've got to ask you, how do you do that? I mean, do you set everything aside and just say nothing because the time is now? How do you dive into now?
What I do is I'm very careful what I say yes to, number one, and then I sit there and I pick something that I'm the most excited about and I go at it. I'm going to give you an example. Right now, we don't need, I know it sounds crazy. In the old days, it says it takes money to make money. In today's society, it takes relationships and human capital, especially where we're at right now. So for example, if you're sitting there going, hey, I got this idea, this great logo for a clothing brand, just as an example, and say, well, I don't have the money to get it going and we're all shut down. Well, guess what? There's somebody with a printing press that makes t-shirts in the garage that are not working either, that maybe you can collaborate with. And guess what? Another person over here makes kick-ass websites and drip funnels and ads for Facebook and all that stuff. And why don't we bring them involved? And next thing you know, you got a 3-person partnership where everyone's bringing their expertise for very little to nothing out of pocket, but you got a brand new, clothing line coming out in 2021. So what I want to do is suggest that people start looking at other ways to leverage human capital in a way that's never been done before. There's so many brilliant people that are right now not knowing what to do, that they're looking for other people to become alliance partners with and find a way to duplicate yourself. So for example, I'm writing right now 4 or 5 books, but I'm not writing them. I got amazing ghostwriters and copy editors. And right this second, I'm creating a brand new website series, but I'm not doing. I got this 20-year-old kid who's making this kick-ass stuff. And guess what? I'm making another movie right now, but I got someone else writing that script and worrying about the capital. So the whole thing is that we can do anything we want as soon as we start leveraging our relationships and bringing them into the fold.
Thank you very much. That makes a lot of sense of how you get everything done now.
Or just pick one great thing, Tammy.
I love it.
Knock it. All right. Who else got something? Okay, what else advice would you give someone who at times becomes paralyzed by fear? All right, so here's the thing. All right, I'm gonna give you guys a little thing about fear. And by the way, great question. When Napoleon Hill did this book, Think and Grow Rich, the biggest chapter is called The 6 Ghosts of Fear. The biggest chapter is dedicated to fear. But when he talked about the 6 fears 100 years ago, I disagree. He talked about the biggest fear of life is the fear of loss of love. Well, the divorce rate's 60%, so that can't be true. It was the fear of old age. People want to get old nowadays, right? So I believe the modern fears is this. The 3 top ones is the fear of pain. That's why all the drug medications. 2, it's the fear of unknown, like what we're going through. No one knows what's coming next. But the biggest one is the fear of judgment, the fear of criticism. And what's really interesting, everyone's worrying about what other people are thinking, but no one's thinking about you. They're dealing with their own situations right now. If you walk down the street in Nebraska and you've never been to Nebraska and you tripped over a curb, first thing you would do is look up to see who saw you, even though you don't know anybody. That's just our general instinct. We're so worried about what people think. And there's a bumper sticker that says, what would you do if you couldn't fail? I say you throw that away. Here's a new one. What would you do the moment you stop worrying about what other people thought? Would you start that business? Would you ask that person for a date? What would you do outside your normal wheelhouse the moment you stop worrying about what other people's judgment is? And the funny thing is, no matter who's judging you, the right people, they're going to be rooting you on as soon as you get going. But it's the action and law of attraction that makes our dreams come true. You got to think it, feel it, get off your ass, got to take action, and you got to do it. As soon as you start doing it, people will get on board and start rooting you along the way.
Who else has got a question? Come on, guys. We've got a few minutes. Happy to take another question. While we're waiting for a question, Greg, why don't you tell people if they wanted to check out The Secret Knock, if they wanted to get your books, where they could start and how they could get connected with you and follow what you do. I know I'm connected with you on LinkedIn, but outside of that, how can people connect?
Oh, that's a good place. LinkedIn's a good spot. I'm an Instagram guy. So if you go to Instagram and look me up, Greg S. Reid, you can DM me directly to my inbox and have a conversation right away, right this second. It's pretty simple. And Secret Knock, it's so funny. We started this event years ago. People kept saying, how do I meet your friends? Because I met all these amazing people. And so I started an event in my living room called Secret Knock. And they said, do I need a ticket? And I go, no, just knock on the door. It became a joke. And now we're Forbes Inc. Entrepreneurs Top Listed event for business leaders and networking. So you go to secretknock.co, you fill out an application. And here's the funny thing. It costs $3,000 to go to my event, and I will not tell you where it is or who will be there. I'm not going to. I just tell you the city, state, and the date. You can book a flight, and then right beforehand, we'll let you know where it's at. And the reason that is we don't want looky-loos and people just popping in the door. So for example, last time I brought in President Vicente Fox, the president of Mexico, and we're sitting on the thing getting started, and I go, Vicente, before we start our interview, I go, I'll start real slow and then I'll work our way up. He goes, okay. I go, I understand you're building me a wall. Thank you very much. He goes, you son of a gun. He started going down this rabbit hole. But then he told a story about how Condoleezza Rice and Colin Powell went to his hacienda to talk him into joining the Iraq war and why he wouldn't. And here, it was so crazy to hear from an actual president who went through these experiences of what it was like. You know, we've had private Skypes with Edward Snowden while he's hiding in Russia, all the way to we brought in where some people drove their Lamborghini there. We brought Mr. Lamborghini from Italy so everyone can hang out. And the whole idea is, where could you be if you started hanging out with the people that are doing what everyone else is talking about? Got a clothing line? Here's the founder of Ugg Boots, right? If you got an invention, well, meet the dude who changed the world. And if you go have a couple tacos and share a beer with someone who's already done what you want to do, your life can change accordingly.
Awesome. We got some other questions. What fueled your desire to say yes to the opportunity to work for free?
Opportunity was the exact word. You know, again, I realized I could always make more money in my career, but could I always have an opportunity to go meet all these people? And I figured if nothing else, I would learn as a student the things that I didn't know, because all we know is all we know. And I'm a firm believer, if I'm only just one step ahead of somebody else, look, there's just one step ahead. That's all it is. And what I do is I share all the things I'm learning along the process in real time. So for example, you know, I've been hanging out with these billionaire guys going like, what exactly do you do to get rich, right? How does this system work? And when you reduce it down to common sense, you can start applying it for yourself. For example, this is just a simple little one, but one person said to me, he goes, it's a wealth mindset. He goes, what I do is, he goes, you see someone that's got a plane, they want to sell it. Someone over here wants to buy a plane, you put them together. I go, yeah. And he goes, because you're a nice guy. He goes, me, I'm a wealthy guy. He goes, I go to the person and say, look, I don't know anyone who wants to buy a plane, but if I find someone, do I get a 10, 20% commission? He can go, yeah. So, all right. Hey, I don't know anyone that wants to sell a plane, but if I find someone, will you give me free airline tickets for my family to Hawaii? Heck yeah, I've always wanted a plane. Then you connect them. Exact same outcome, except one's a wealth mindset, one's not. So for myself, people came to my events at Secret Knock, and one guy says, hey, I want to start a new pharmaceutical company. Awesome. I happen to know the guy who ran Pfizer and invented all the big drugs. I said, hey, if I put you two together and you'd form something, do I get some shares of a fake company just in case? And I go, absolutely. Well, guess what? They came together. They went public last year, and now I've got millions and millions of shares of this company that's publicly traded on the exchange. And just by following those simple principles.
Awesome. We have a question about, how do you choose a ghostwriter? Someone's looking at doing a book, they know where to find them, but how do you choose the right ghostwriter? Oh, that was a pain in the ass. So I went through, I couldn't even tell you how many ghostwriters I've gone through, but right now I've got two that I use all the time. Gary Krebs is incredible. He's the former publisher of McGraw-Hill Publishing Corporation. Who can write a better book, me or that dude, right? And then the guy who wrote like Stickability, he writes all the curriculum for Princeton, the person who wrote the other thing. But my main gal, her name's Patty. Oh, this woman's just amazing. She's worked for me for 16 years. She's done, I think, 20 some odd bestsellers for me, and I've never met her. I've never even seen her. Talk about a ghost. We just talk on the phone. It's like Bosley of the, the old Charlie's Angels. No idea. If I was walking down the street, I wouldn't even know it was her. And she is just amazing, where she can take your words of wisdom and craft them in a way people would want to read it. And they go on to become juggernauts right now. That's incredible, Greg. I guess one last question from George Zimney, who helped put this together. And let me answer the question though. So the way you do it is you have to go through a bunch of people, and there's that service called upwork.com. You can go and post an ad today and say, hey, here's my budget of whatever it is, $1,000, and say, I want someone to take all my journals and put them into book form. And you'll get someone with a PhD in literature in Malaysia to take that and craft it away and give it back to you. And you can go through a bunch of those until you find someone that works for you. My ghostwriters, they start at $24,000 to $35,000 minimum, and then they go up really high. But anyone that wants one of mine, just reach out to me directly and I'll make an introduction to you. They're phenomenal, by the way. I'm just phenomenal, and they're worth every penny. So next question. George asked if there was one book someone could read before the end of the year, apart from the ones that you've written and spoke about. What's the one book that changed your life as well? Oh,
This one is like beyond a no-brainer, but it's a book that you might not have heard of. That's unbelievable. It's called The Ultimate Gift by Jim Stovall. And it went on to become a major motion picture through, I think it was Sony, or it was, one of those types, Searchlight. But The Ultimate Gift by Jim Stovall. And he and I are writing a book together right now called The Passport that we think will be a next major motion picture. And speaking of that, my film is trending, I think, right now worldwide on Netflix. It's called Wish Man. What happened is that a long time ago, the founder of a nonprofit called Make-A-Wish Foundation, they grant wishes to terminally ill kids. And I was talking to the founder and I said, hey, what was your wish? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, your founder of Make-A-Wish, what did you want? And he goes, no one asked me. I says, well, let me grant your wish. Anything you want, I'll give it to you. He says, I just want my story to be told so my grandkids know I did something. So he signed over his life rights. I said, cool. I've never made a movie, but I'll figure it out. It took me years, 6 years, 7 years, and came out last year. We made the final ballot for the Oscars. We didn't get the nomination, but we made the final ballot for the Oscars. And now you can go to Netflix and watch it tonight. It's right there, called Wish Man. How cool is that?
Wow. Awesome. Well, Greg, if you have one final little nugget for anyone before we thank you and let you get on with your day and go and get your bagel and have some breakfast, what would that be, sir?
All right, this is gonna be my final little aha, and then we'll close it up. And again, so you go Greg S. Reid on Instagram, you can reach out to me, LinkedIn, you can Google, it's kind of all over the place. But someone's watching this right now and they're thinking about coming to Secret Knock, just do it, just come. Stop thinking about it, just come play. And you're thinking, well, I'm not good enough, or I don't have, stop it, just come hang out, change your life, start hanging out with the people that are doing. Everyone sits there and says, well, it's easy for you, so shut up, do it. Now I'm giving you the same thing as I got. Stop thinking and come. And here's my final thing. CPC, this thing changed my life when I heard it. It's about accountability and responsibility for every single thing that happens. Stop blaming other people. It's your fault. It works like this. CPC is an acronym that stands for clues, patterns, choices. Clues, patterns, choices. So for example, I'm a single guy. All you ladies out there, 57 years old, okay? And I go out on a first date. Let's say she's 20 minutes late. Well, there's a little red flag, but that's the first C, it's a clue. But if I choose to go on the 5th, 6th, and 7th date, and every time she's 20 minutes late, that forms the P, which stands for pattern. Now it's my C choice, whether I deal with it, yell at her, break up with her, but it's not her fault. She's just late. Stop trying to change people to fit into your own box. How many times have we seen someone with a bad reputation in business? They cheat your best friend, then you do business with them thinking, it'll be different for me. Things go wrong and you're mad at the person. You saw the clue, you saw the pattern, but you made the choice. It's like seeing a rattlesnake rattle, bite your kid's sister, you go to pet it, get bit, and then you're mad at the snake. It's about accountability and responsibility for seeing these things and doing something about it. Looking back at life, rarely are we angry at the relationships that didn't go good or the business relationships that kind of fell apart. We're just mad at ourselves that we stayed in too long because we saw the clue, we saw the pattern, but we made our choices too late, or we let other people make those choices for us. And the most successful people on the planet, all they do differently is they're constantly studying clues, they're seeing the patterns, and then they make their choices instantaneously.
Greg, thank you so much. I'm going to open it up so everyone can give you a big
Love
round.
it, Greg. Dude, you're awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Greg.
Yay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you later. Bye.